Crazy Productions presents Thanasis Vasilakos and Master Tempo, direct from Greece, live in Sydney for a massive 4-hour show on Friday, 16th of May at Canterbury Holston Park RSL Club. Tickets are selling fast. Call 0418 451 481 to book today. There's no Ouzo talk without a bottle of Ouzo, which is why we love the Greek Providor. Get a real taste of the very best produce that Greece has to offer. From olive oils and delicious artisan sweets to unique spirits, earthy herbs and memorable wines. Visit thegreekprovidor.com.au to see their amazing range. The Greek Providor, proud sponsors of the Ouzo Talk podcast. Well, welcome to the second episode of Ouzo Shots, ladies and gents. I am Tom Skolarikas, and with me, as always, is the great Nick Athanasiou. Welcome, mate.
Thank you for the great, mate. That's a very good introduction. Hello, everyone.
Is it warranted?
Not really. I don't think so.
Mate, I don't care what anyone says about you. You're all right.
Thanks, mate.
That's one of his. Anyway,
I love it. What are we here to talk about, Tom?
We are here to talk because, something's really important is happening in the Catholic tradition. And obviously, we don't have much of a connection to the Catholics anymore, post 1054, obviously, because there was a schism, obviously, which I'm sure most people out there will be able to tell us more about. But yes, there was a schism. A schism, exactly. Yep. And as we speak, the Catholic Church, all the cardinals, something like 180 or so, have convened in Rome for conclave to elect the next pope. But that's not the reason why we're here to talk about it. The reason why we're here to talk about it is because we've since discovered that there have been somewhere between 4 and maybe 12 to 14 Greek popes.
Correct.
This came as a bit of a surprise.
Definitely. Yeah, it was a surprise. And I might have read the same article you read, but I had a bit of a look and it's popping up everywhere. And there's even a pope like, I think his name is Saint Miltiades, but he's connected to Tunisia. So even that sounds Greek, but they're not including him in our Greek culture. But yeah, you're right, 4 to 12. There's some famous ones out there as well that done a lot of big things as well.
Definitely. And a lot of them have actually become saints during the course of these, 2 millennia that, since the beginning of Christianity. And look, we cannot be sure for certain, whether, they're 100% Greek or whatever the case is. What we do know for sure, though, is that they have some sort of connection to Greece in terms of ancestry. And again, minimum 4. In fact, this morning, I think it was actually NBC, they popped up an infographic up on screen on one of their reports on the start of conclave. Yeah. And they actually attributed 4 to Greece. So the top number of popes during the course of the last 2 millennia have been from Italy, number 1. Yeah. Greece is in the top 5, believe it or not, and they attributed 4, as I said. But if you dig a little bit deeper, there's articles, for example, on Greek Reporter that is actually giving us 12 of them. So the whole point of this podcast and this episode is to say that
we have a connection.
Even the Greeks are even in the papacy, right? We're claiming that too.
Classic. So we know there's 266 popes. So from St. Peter to St. Francis, and even St. Peter was the first, wasn't he? So,
that's right.
And he spoke Greek. He wrote Greek. So there's a bit of a connection there as well.
So he was the original, one of the original apostles, and obviously effectively the favorite, the rock upon which the church was built.
Correct.
And now literally when it comes to the Catholic tradition.
Yeah. Well, he was originally known as Simon Peter, wasn't he? And he was a fisherman. So, and my understanding is he got crucified upside down, and it was in the Vatican Square where the obelisk is. Do you know anything about that at all you can add?
So, funnily enough, because of all of this, we've had a really interesting run with religious stories the last few weeks. Mount Athos and whatnot. The timing was impeccable, wasn't it?
It was.
Easter, then the death of the Pope, now with conclave, and the release of the Mount Athos episode. And now we're here talking about.
And now we've got a dozen Greek popes we didn't know about.
I know. We've inherited them, as far as we're concerned. But I was actually watching a documentary in the last week and a half on the building of the Vatican and Vatican Square and whatnot. Very interesting story that I'd never really delved into before, even though I've been there a couple of times actually. Sure. And what it said basically was and we were having a discussion off air. Not sure whether the obelisk in Vatican Square was put there because of St. Peter. It's not actually in the original position that it was. It's been moved. It was originally to the side of where of St. Peter's Basilica now actually stands.
Yeah.
And it was moved quite some time later to be in the position that it is. And the importance of it is that it was witness to the crucifixion of Peter.
There you go.
So that's it's the only witness to, that's still around today of that event.
Yeah.
And
what's
St.
in that
Peter's
vicinity
Basilica,
anyway.
Exactly. And St. Peter's Basilica is actually built on top of what is commonly known through the Catholic tradition, the early Christian tradition, to be the site of Peter's burial. Interestingly as well, it was where the obelisk originally stood was in the middle of a circus. So where they would do chariot racing effectively, and the outskirts, and it was on the outskirts of the city.
Yeah.
And right next to that, effectively where St. Peter's Basilica now stands, is where it was a necropolis. So
there you go.
Which is what they called it at the time. So they were even using the Greek term,
there you
necropoli.
Go. Fantastic.
And that is where people used to go to venerate the tomb of St. Peter. And it was lost after a long time, and more recently, like fairly recently, they rediscovered it. And I think they said, if I'm not mistaken, Pope Francis came out with what they believe to be the bones of St. Peter as well in a box.
Wow. How was that for a story, eh? Unbelievable.
It was a great documentary as well.
It's a great documentary. Well, have you heard of Pope Hyginus?
Was he hygienic?
Don't know. That's where my mind crossed. But actually, guess where he was born, Tom?
Where was he born?
Athens, Greece.
Was he really?
So he's definitely Greek. We'd claim him for that.
Okay, so that's a tick for the Greekness of the Pope.
Yeah, there is a bit of debate when he was in power, but most sources say 136 AD to 142 AD. He instituted godparents at baptisms. How's that?
So he was the one who actually said, this is what, you're going to have a spiritual guide in the form of a godparent.
Correct. More like maybe they couldn't do it. They needed a hand, I guess. So we needed a godfather to give us a hand. What do you think?
I'm going with it.
It's a big job to do it on your own. So we need a godparent.
Okay. This is one thing we need to talk about. When it comes to godparents, I mean, it's not as simple as actually saying, agreeing to baptize someone.
It's a big job.
It is a big job. Like, it's a responsibility. Even if you're not particularly religious, you shouldn't take that responsibility lightly. It's more than just going with a labada every Easter.
No way.
In our tradition.
Well,
although you should do that.
Correct, yeah. Well, that's it. You've got responsibility of looking after this kid. If anything happens to the parents is the traditional term, isn't it?
Well, interesting
many.
point, because what my understanding is, what happens in our tradition is that you will pick someone that if something happens to you as a parent, the godparent basically steps in and takes over, and they will raise your child in your absence.
Correct. Yep.
So do not take it lightly.
No, that is, and it's a big honor as well. It's
Definitely.
been in movies as well. But how about this guy, Pope Eleutherius? Have you heard of this guy?
Eleutherius.
Yeah, Pope Eleutherius.
Okay.
174 to 189 AD. Had a bit better readings than our other mate, Hyginus.
The hygienic one.
But I like this guy in particular because guess where he was born?
Okay, he was born in Epirus, surely.
How did you know that? Hey?
I'll take it.
Nicopolis, Epirus. So the victory city, which was actually named.
So it's a double whammy for you. Nicopolis.
Mate, what a place. I love this priest. This bishop, this pope. What a legend. Well, actually, it was Octavian, which is Augustus Caesar.
Yes.
He had a victory over Antony and Cleopatra in 31 BC, Battle of Actium.
Yes.
And because of that victory, he built Victory City, which is Nicopolis. And our Pope, Eleutherius, comes from there. So how's that for a story?
Again, I'll take it. You're the man with all the facts today.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I had to do a bit of reading, and I'm looking at my notes here because there's a lot happening here. But he also received a letter from Lucius, King of Britain, declaring an intention to convert to Christianity. So that was something that he was famous for. And also the resurgence of a creed, affirmation that no food should be repudiated by Christians strong in their faith as God created it. So what's a decree, Tom?
I don't know.
It's
you tell
an
me.
official order that has the force of law. So it's like a law for the Christians.
Interesting. Okay, so what you're trying to say, though, is that these popes, these Greek popes, wielded a lot of power.
They had they left their mark, I guess, in Christianity.
Wonderful. Okay.
Which we do it today. So, yeah, very interesting. So, Conclave, when's that on?
Well, at the time of recording, they should actually be going in about now. So by the time everyone hears this, those cardinals are probably going in there right now to, elect the new pope. And, obviously we are Greek Orthodox, so it's not a thing for us. And there are lots of people within our community who still hold, as Vasily Adrakta said on the Mount Athos episode, there's still a lot of
animosity.
That's a good word for it, I guess. Animosity. There are still people who call each other. There's the heretic line being thrown. Interestingly, though, and most importantly, that's not happening at the upper echelons when it comes to guys like the Patriarch Bartholomew, who, let's just remind ourselves, we have a microphone stand which the Patriarch used. And blessed. So again, if you see any sort of extra glow about us, that's why.
We're looking younger, do you think?
It's not the fountain of bloody youth, mate. He just used the mic stand. But no, so Patriarch Bartholomew of the Orthodox Church was actually quite good friends with Pope Francis and had really good relations with his predecessors as well. So the stuff about that animosity and the the idea of them throwing the word heretics and excommunicating each other, that's well and truly in the past. And it's even gone one step further in recent times with Patriarch Bartholomew calling for a unified Easter, which, that would be...
We had one this year.
Technically
unified, same day.
It was a more expensive Easter for everyone concerned.
No half-price Easter eggs.
I know. I know, right? Yeah. But, in the spirit of Christianity and the teachings of Jesus, surely we should be heading in the same sort of direction, even if we've got our own traditions and, they're Catholic and we're Orthodox and whatnot. Surely there's a case for us being able to agree on something like that. Something as important.
We were together. We were united. But look, end of the day, we just got to respect that's their process, that's their systems. We respect all religion, regardless of what view you have. And, good luck to the Catholics and hope you pick the right man for the job.
I just find it interesting more than anything, the way that they get, it's such a huge institution. And, I went to a Catholic school and it was interesting learning about that sort of stuff. Yeah. And, the way that they go about it, the way that they're locked into the Sistine Chapel, the white smoke for when they've picked a pope, the black smoke if they've had a vote and there's no result. And everyone just waiting in that square for, they could be waiting there for weeks, literally.
Yeah, exactly.
They're expecting a short conclave this time, though, because the cardinals have been in Rome for a large amount of time, since the death of Francis. So, they've had time to talk about this.
They have. Yeah, look, there's a few favourites. We could have our first Asian pope from the Philippines.
Yes.
He's looking good. I saw at odds, I think it was like 5-1 or 3-1 now. He's coming in. So.
Yeah, what's Sportsbet saying about this? Gamble responsibly.
Yes, that's right. They usually know, don't they? And drink responsibly.
That's right. Here's to our Catholic friends.
Good luck with your conclave.
That's it.
May the best man win.
That's it. Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you for joining us for this second episode. Again, we just find it interesting at the end of the day, don't we?
It is, and this is what me and Tom talk about every morning. So we thought, that's where Ouzo Shot came from, didn't it?
Absolutely.
You ring in the morning, we talk about something, you see that in the news, then we just fucking gibber for the next hour, and then I've got to go.
See you later.
So, Ouzo Shot.
Ouzo Shot, that's
Good
it.
concept. Tell us what you think.
Absolutely.
Tell us what you want to hear.
That's right. So, Stiniyamas.
Cheers.
We'll see you next time.
Yasas.